Hello and welcome to my beautiful community. I have my dear friend, Elayne Kalila Doughty with me today. And it's been a long time since I came out to you all with actually my face and some real words versus an email. And Elayne and I were brainstorming about the moment that we're in, the season that we're in, of course, here in the Northern Hemisphere, really tilting into autumn. And Elayne is just an absolute expert and guide around Sow-When, the season that we're coming into. And so I wanted to bring her on and do just a little recording with her so that you could actually hear from her, a high priestess who has, her own Celtic background and lineage, about this amazing moment that we're going into. And so let me just introduce her to you first, and then we're just going to dive in and let her share this with you. I know many of you will know Elayne. You've been involved in her work, and you've certainly know her through my sharing about her. But for some of you, this might actually be your very first moment that you're meeting this amazing woman. She is the primary focalizer and creator of Priestess Presence. This is just an amazing global network and enterprise, and she has thousands and thousands and thousands of women that she has ordained into the Priestess Presence lineage. And this comes from her own roots in the 13 Moon Mystery School. She's also a psychotherapist and a social activist. So just some credentials about her. Just incredible that we get to have her for a few moments today. But I also want to say she's just one of my dearest besties and soul sister, goddess sisters. And so not only do I look up to her for all things priestessing, but I also get to really watch her walk that path. For those of you that might follow Elayne, and if you haven't connected with her through her Instagram channel, please do. What a luscious, gorgeous way to get a sense of her. But she loves bath time, and she has this incredible outdoor bath house where she has not one, but two. She has a guest bath. And so, we literally get to get naked together. And I mean that on every level. Like, I get to really see, the inner working of her life and how she does relationships, and just this great and abundant heart that she is. And what, that sort of gangster priestessing, as her beloved likes to say, really looks like, in the real world, in this moment of madness that we're all navigating. So I'm just so grateful that you're here, Elayne, and I'm so excited to just share with my audience, your mastery and your beauty. So thanks for being here.
Sweetheart. I'm just all bubbling over with a love fest. Thank you for that beautiful introduction. And it's true. I was just thinking that it's time to get back into the bathtubs now that the rains are here and the weather is cooled off. It's the perfect time to have the outside bathtub experience with this beautiful bathhouse that we get to sit in. And it's just, I can't wait. And so that's a great lead in for where we are in the Wheel of the Year. For those of you that don't know this concept, the Wheel of the Year, I'll just share with you a little bit that all over the world, right, there have been celebrations and what we might call high holy days that are associated with Gaia, with the turning of the seasons through the wheel of never-ending return, right? We just get to the end of the year and then we start a new one. There's this cyclical time that we're all living in. And that was much connected to the agrarian, to kind of animism, to the indigenous cultures from all over the world had celebrations that marked the Wheel of the Year because it was to do with planting of the crops, and it was to do with when the livestock would be giving birth and when we would be giving birth, right, connected into those seasons. Well, we are heading into a seasonal shift, and they happen all the time, right? And what I love about the Wheel of the Year, and I come at it from, as Lisa said, from a Celtic perspective. I'm from the UK, you can hear that, and my lineage is really in the land of the Celts, and I grew up with the Wheel of the Year, these celebrations. So I'm going to name them for you. The very first one is February, and it's Imbolc. And from Imbolc, which is when in the Northern Hemisphere, when the first shoots of spring really just begin to peek out from underneath the earth, right? It's when the crocuses and the primroses start to come out. We move to the spring equinox, which is that time in March when there's equal light and equal dark, right? And from there, we go to Beltane, which is the high energy of fertility. And there's lots of stories about the Stag King and the May Queen coming together to procreate. It's that time of procreation. And then we go into summer solstice, which is the high point of the year. It's the brightest time of the year, June 21st in the Northern Hemisphere. And it's the darkest part of the year in the Southern Hemisphere, right? There's that balance point of the solstice. And then we hit that peak and we start to go into the waning of the year. And we go through to Lammas, which is the first harvest, August 1st, through to fall equinox, which is the equal light and dark at the other end of the year. And we've just gone through that, right, in September. And you may have noticed in the Northern Hemisphere that our days are starting to get shorter. And in the Southern Hemisphere, your days are starting to get longer, right? We're balance pointing all the time. Well, now we're heading in between fall equinox and what is winter solstice in December, which is also known as Yule in the Celtic calendar. We have this amazing high holy day that's called Sow-When. And it's spelled Samhain, which when you look at it, you'd never think that was Sow-When, right? But Sow-When is how it's pronounced. And that high holy day is also known as All Hallows Eve. It's also known as Halloween. And it falls right on where, if you're part of the Christian tradition, you would have All Souls Day, which is on November 2nd, right? Day of the Dead. It's this celebration that really brings us into contact on one level with the thinning of the veils. This is how we understand it. The thinning of the veils, where the old year is beginning to let go. It's beginning to ready itself to go into the underworld, to be replenished, to be regenerated in order to emerge again at Imbolc, which is February 1st. It's going to go into that fallow season of the winter. So when we work with the Wheel of the Year, we're not just working with the seasons out there, right? We're working with them as seasonal shifts within ourselves. And it's just so, what I find to be so beautiful about this time of year is there's a taking stock. And at Samhain, what we really get to do is not just open the veils to connect with the ancestors, which is also a big part of what happens here, right? We're connecting in with the past. We're connecting in with our lineages. We're connecting in with what we have created in our lives this year. It's a time of reflection before we begin to let go into the solstice and into that regeneration cycle. So it's really a moment where we get to look at this last year, which, my goodness, I don't know about you all, but this last year has been, I mean, we said 2020 was really intense, right? And I think 2021 has had its own level of intensity as we've continued to work with this COVID pandemic and all the separations and the judgments and the blaming and the different camps, right, of people who have different points of view and how that division has happened. I know for myself, even amongst my own friends, I've been navigating a lot of different conversations with a lot of different points of view that don't always meld well together, right? And I've spoken to so many people whose families have been divided because of their different points of view around, whether it's around the vaccination or it's around COVID itself, or it's around the governance of, how we're all approaching this. It's just been, I don't know, it's just been really a hard year. And I think that one of the things that we can use these turns of the wheel for is to recalibrate ourselves. So in my community, what we do is we come together for every high holy day, and we use it as a ceremonial time to kind of harvest, if you will, or to bring into focus all that we have created, all that we have traveled through, and to go through a process of conscious letting go and then bringing in a new intention for the next cycle. So it's used very intentionally. And so part of what I wanted to share with Lisa, we were talking about, is how these high holy days are like nodal points on Mama Gaia, right? They're like acupressure points almost, where we can come together and we can we can start to create our reality anew. Like we can start to let go of where we've been and start to initiate something new. And I think that we all really need these kinds of ceremonies and rituals to help us navigate what otherwise feels like a really chaotic world. So that is in essence what Sow-When is about. For me personally, one thing I'll share with you is I've been through this last season from Lammas through fall equinox till now. I got very sick with COVID myself in August, and I was out for about 5-6 weeks with a really pretty serious bout of COVID that really took me into the underworld. And so the fact that I'm here, being able to come together in community to create this kind of celebration of what it is, you know, there's a celebration aspect of us having made it here, right? That we're here, that we're still here. And then there's also an opportunity for us to ask the question, and I think this is the question that we're going to be posing at Sow-When this year, which is, what are the skills and practices that we really need in order to continue to navigate this world in a way where we can, and the 5 words that I've been putting out there into the universe, where we can ground and focus and presence and center love. That is the energetic mantra that we're going to be working with in the Sow-When ceremony this year. So I just wanted to share this with you, Lisa, because I know you're really connected into this wheel of the year from a kind of different perspective, maybe not from the Celtic, but into how these seasons translate into seasons of our lives, seasons of our own, you know what I mean, transformation. So that's a little bit about the Celtic high holiday and how we work with it in the priestessing community.
Yeah. Beautiful. So just for all of you listening, I'm wondering if you're having the same experience that I have when I remember that I am a daughter of the earth, right? And a child of Gaia. And that, you know, these seasons, these rhythms, these cycles are not just happening in nature, if you will, out there. You know, I'm looking out, my little myrtle trees turning all red. And we see like things are starting to let go, but you can feel that in your own body, right? Like you are a daughter of the earth. And so your body is doing its own shedding, its own reckoning, right? Like this message I sent out last week about reckoning. And, you know, for me, that's been a lot about literally doing a detox and doing a cleanse and getting support with my body. And so just taking a moment to check in with this, you know, context that Elayne is offering us around the cycle you've been in this year and the place that you're in right now. And, you know, what this time of Sow-When, you know, it really means to you, whether you call it Sow-When or, you know, some other holy day or even Halloween or Old Souls Day. Like, what does this time mean for you? And Elayne, maybe if you could just also speak to why, I mean, you touched on these threads, but why is it so important for us, particularly as conscious women, to mark these times with ritual and place ourselves inside of sacred circle where there's ritual and there's ceremony happening? And then maybe just dovetail that into, you know, I'm not doing that this year, so I'm offering you to my sister community as an incredible resource. I want to encourage you all to partake of the offering that Elayne has coming up for 4 days to do this. But first, maybe talk about, why is it important to mark it? Why is it important to be in circle and in ritual? And then what you have literally, to literally offer to fulfill that?
I love that question, Lisa. So what I know to be real and true is that we live in this, world of linear time, right, which is forward moving. And one of the curious and interesting things about the COVID experience is I think many of us have shifted our relationship to that time, because we're no longer future planning in the way that we were, because we're not able to. So what's happened is we've been brought very much into this present moment existence of, well, what's happening now, right? So I want to comment on that because I think it's significant. And I think inside of that, what we're really doing when we come into ceremonial space is we're marking this time, which I call, well, it's called Kairos time, which is circular time. And circular time has embedded within it the wisdom that we are constantly being born, living, dying, and being reborn. That is not a linear process from birth to death, but that in fact, in every moment, we have the opportunity as conscious, awake human beings to recreate ourselves, to consciously die, to let go of that which no longer serves, and to step into that which is emerging with intention, consciousness, and focus towards what we are consciously wanting to create in our lives. And as conscious women, we are absolutely encoded with this wisdom. So we have this within our cellular knowing, we have it within our bodies. Everything is based on this cycle, right, of life, death, and rebirth. It's in our menstrual cycle, it's in the moon, it's in the seasons, it's in the tides, it's reflected everywhere. So when we come together in ceremony, what we're doing is that we're bringing that awareness of that cycle of life, death, and rebirth and regeneration into focus. And we're using that time to amplify and to put the focus on, in alignment with Gaia's season, where she's supporting us to be in that movement, right? And we're using that energy together. And when we come together in circle and ceremonial space, what happens is we're so much greater than the sum of our parts, right? We bring together our energy and we're able to accelerate, amplify, catalyze change within ourselves and within our communities. And then from my vision, within our world. So when we come together in circle,
it matters.
There's an opportunity, right? There's an opportunity for us to step out of who we have been into who's emerging within us. And these rituals and rites of passage that mark the year have always been crucial to our human development and evolution. And we have gotten far away from that way of living and celebrating because we became kind of identified with this industrial revolution. And then the time became about productivity and we became disconnected from the feminine, right? And that's been happening for the last few thousand years. So when we come back together in ceremony, we're also reigniting and remembering, which means to bring together that which has been rent asunder. We are remembering, right, our lineages, our innate feminine knowing about how to let go of that which is complete in our lives and how to open to that which wants to come. And the biggest thing, and I'll say this as a psychotherapist, I was in private practice as a psychotherapist for many, many, many years before I kind of leapt off the edge and said, well, actually, I'm a priestess. It's a whole nother story there. But, right, as a psychotherapist, the number one thing that people came to see me for, whatever else might have been going on with them, the number one thing they came to see me for was they were having a hard time changing something they wanted to change. They were having a hard time letting go of a previous identity in order to move to a new space. And I think that's true for most of us. And I think so when we create ritual and ceremony together, we create an empowered space where together with many hundreds of other women, we get to do this together and to mark the moment and to make a new choice in consciousness. And that's so powerful. So that's a tool. It's a tool that we all need.
Yes. Incredible.
Yeah.
All right.
And I've seen this happen over and over and over again. You know, we do these ceremonies for our community, for Priestess Presence, as an offering to come together in temple to create something together. And what I love about it so much is that literally I get to see and feel how people get shifted through being in ceremonial space. So I'll stop there, but there's so much more I could say. It's juicy stuff.
So powerful. It's so powerful. And so what I find so generous is that you're opening Priestess Presence, the temple, where you've got thousands of women who are practicing inside of this lineage, but you're opening the temple to the greater community on the 31st, right? To kick off like a 4-day ritual that we're all invited to. Is there a fee for that, or is that
No, it's completely free.
Wow.
It's completely free.
Thank you. Okay, so you hear this? So no financial reason for you not to come and be part of this, beloveds. If this is speaking to you, if you want to be inside of that kind of sacred space, expertly guided and curated specifically for this connection with these life cycles, right? What is dying? What is being reborn, right? What is living in you right now? So just tell us briefly, Elayne, I'll put a link. There'll be a link here for you to get yourself inside of this. Is there anything else just around that invitation that you want to?
Yeah, so I'll tell you what the invitation is. This 4-day event that we have been visioning and creating, and I've been co-creating it with a whole host of women within the Priestess Presence Temple, and it's called the path of initiation, the path of priestess initiation, entering the mystery, parting the veils on the mystery of life, death, and rebirth. So the whole theme is about life, death, and rebirth, and about what it is to be in an initiation, in a challenge, in a time of your life where we're being challenged, but most of us individually and collectively, right? So we're looking at it through that lens. We begin on Sow-When, which is October 31st at 12 noon, and we'll have our big Sow-When celebration. And then there's, as Lisa said, 3 more days of offerings where we're going to be deepening into the temple of the midwife, the ecstatic, the edge walker, the challenger, and the mystic. And so we're going to be looking at these different archetypes through the lens of how do they help us to navigate life, death, and rebirth.
Honey, what a gorgeous offering. Thank you so much. I'm so excited about it, right? It just, and it's just so, I just want to say too, it's so, yes, we're, I can speak from my own experience. There's so much going on in my life that, I just want to acknowledge how difficult it is for us successful women running multiple roles in our life to actually commit to a space where we get to go and receive, and fill
That's
ourselves
key.
up and really be supported to do this connecting with our bodies and our hearts and our spirits and really marking this time. And so I just want to just speak to that. Yes, it's difficult to sometimes, really say, this is actually really important to me. I just, invested in a whole panchakarma and did this whole cleansing thing. And, even though I speak to this all the time, and I think of myself as a queen of exquisite self-care, it's hard to really give ourselves permission to do that sometimes. Oftentimes, right? There's just so much pulling. And so, I want to just encourage you to obviously, sign up for this if it's speaking to you, but also to show up for it, to really just say to your beloveds, like, mama needs this space to reconnect, right? Or, entrepreneur, visionary needs this moment to actually connect with my own inspiration and creativity so that I can continue to lead my enterprise or serve my clients.
Mm,
And so
mm, mm.
just a real encouragement to sit with that and to feel, you know, this question of what wants reckoning for you right now, and how will you allow yourself to be supported around that? Like, oh yeah, I'll do some
Mhm.
journaling about that, you know. Yes, but does that happen? And will you be able to tap into the power that's here inside of the women's circle? And so
Yeah.
anyway, it's one of the reasons I really wanted to bring Elayne
Mm,
to you, so she could
mm,
give you a flavor of this, and so you could feel the potency
mm.
of this invitation. Yeah.
Thank you, Lise. I really appreciate it. And one final thing I will say to what you just said is that this is exactly the function of the Priestess Presence Temple is that so many of us are, you know, in the roles in our lives, whether it's with our families or in our actual work of being the helpers, the healers, the medicine women, the coaches, the spiritual directors, you know, we're giving, we're holding, we're helping other people birth themselves, right? Most of us are in that in some way. That's just who we are. And what I always look at is, well, then who's holding you?
That's right.
Where's your place to be held in your conscious rebirth? Because I know for myself, having just gone through what I've gone through this year, I've needed to come into temple. I've needed to come into spaces where others are holding so that I can actually move through what I need to move through in order to remain in service to the community that I'm here serving. So I think it's a super important conversation for us to have is, if we're in this work helping others, we have to be in this work to receive that help for ourselves. Otherwise, we're not really embodying what it is to be in the transformation and to be working inside this kind of environment. So yeah, that's one of the reasons that we do this, is so that we create that space for us all to actually come together and to do this and empower each other to feel that holding, that we're not alone. We're not alone in this world. We do have a place to be in community and connection that's real, even though it's virtual. You know, I think that's one of the things we've learned over the last couple of years, right? Is that this virtual world is really actually very powerful to create in. So I would be honored to see any of you. And thanks, Lisa, for taking the time to share me and this offering with your community.
Thank you, sweetheart. What a
Yeah.
gift. And let's get naked together soon, sister. I know you're traveling, but I'm hereby preparing a bath date.
Totally. It's ready. It's ready. I cleaned it all out. It's ready
Oh,
for
I'm so
use.
glad. All right, beloveds, may you go forth with some renewed connection to this season, to the idea of support, to this particular offering of ritual and support, if it speaks to you, and just also our appreciation, both of us, for tuning in, for being the woman that you are, navigating all that you're navigating, and just being part of conscious feminine community. It's such a joy to feel that connection. All right. So much love. Thank you
Blessings.
so much, Elayne Kalila. Mwah.
Mm.
Bye, everybody.
Bye, everybody.